And what is up, Man Hour Nation? Michael Boycott here with the Man Hour. Be sure to over to manhourradio.com. Check out the merchandise page or check out the blog section as well. But most importantly, check out the forums. We got the forums over there. They're live, raw, and uncut. So if you feel like talking some shit, like my man Jim Powell, jump over there and talk some shit because we know what is good over there. But guys, this is Man Hour NFL Talk. We're live every Monday through Friday, 2:30 East Coast time, right here at Facebook.com and, of course, YouTube.com. But if you like the podcast form, shortly after the show, about 4 o'clock p.m., 4:30 p.m. East Coast time, bada bing, bada boom, the podcast form is out there on Spotify, iTunes, and, of course, iHeartRadio. We do have clips of the show as well, uploaded every 3 hours to our Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok pages, respectively. But with that being said, we got to welcome some people into the chat. We have to welcome the CEO of the Pigskin Pundits, Mr. Jim Powell, to the chat. He says, our first 5 games of our season, this is the only loss that I am predicting. If you guys want to know something, Jim Powell is a Raiders fan, and they think the Raiders are going to go 16-1. They're only lost to the Baltimore Ravens. We'll talk about it. Speaking of Pigskin Pundits, my man John Peebles is in the chat as well. He is a Pigskin Pundit. He is a CFO. He says, what up, though? What it is, John. What it is. What up? And then we got some shit talkers. We got some people that like to talk the shit, and that is Jim Powell. He says, nobody told me it was ugly hat day. Listen. The powder blue Kansas City Royals hat are by far the most superior hat out there, hands down. Philly tries to copy us with the powder blues, and there's some other teams out there that have the powder blue hats, but Kansas City is the original powder blue. I don't care what the facts say. Hands down, the powder blue hats from the Kansas City Chiefs, or the Kansas City Royals are the best. Best hands down. Powder blue with the royal blue. Oh, baby, give me some powder blue. We got my man Ant in the chat as well. He says, what up, y'all? What's up, Ant? It has been a long time coming. It's a long time coming. We've been boosting up your Baltimore Ravens for a long time. But it is what it is. And John says, I'm not here talking shit about the Royals because that's where Bo played. That's right. That is where Bo played. Jim Powell says, nothing more impressive than a pirate hat. Black and gold, I guess. Cool if you're into that black and gold thing. But guys, there's been something on my mind. And now, Mike's thoughts. I need to get a little overlay for that. We'll work on that maybe tomorrow. But if you guys are a Pigskin Pundit over here at Facebook.com/Man Hour, you have already kind of heard this rant this morning. You have already kind of heard this rant, and it's kind of like, right? So I want to start off by premises that I am glad that Good Morning Football is back. I am not a huge fan of the debate show TVs, the hollering and screaming. I do tune into it from time to time, but I do normally watch Good Morning Football. Today was their epic return, 8 a.m. here on the East Coast, and they had a new host. Yeah, they had the same old Jamie, Peter, and the other guy, right? But I believe it's Devin McCourty. He is no longer there. He did not want to make the move out to L.A. They inserted some other guy that I really don't know. He's a very African name. He is a black individual. Earlier in the show, very, very early, they were basically putting out terms that they no longer want to use in 2024 on the show. People were throwing out X Factor and sus, and Peter Schrager said, fire. I no longer want to use the term fire because he has a 12-year-old son, and apparently 12-year-olds now say the word slap. Like, that slaps, yo. That slaps. No more fire. It slaps. And the black guy, I don't know his name. I can't remember his name. Good. He instantly tuned me off. Because he's like, slap. I didn't know people like you talked like that. And everybody kind of looked at him kind of weird, like, what the F are you talking about, man? And then Peter, kind of joked it off, said, pretty fly for a white guy, right? He's like, oh, yeah, the white guy. This man's first show on Good Morning Football, you've been off for 4 months, you're going to race bait within the first 10 minutes of the segment? What is going on? What is going on? And the minute he said, I'm like, get that crap out of here, and I instantly tuned off. And then I jumped on the Pigskin Pundits, and I wanted to say this guy for everybody to hear. There will never be any race baiting here on Man Hour Live. There will never be any race card, black or white thing. All that stuff is completely stupid, and it pisses me off to the core. Pisses me off to the core. But I just want to say, guys, this will never be like that. Never be like that. That's my thoughts. Alrighty, guys. Alrighty. It is time to get into some Baltimore Ravens talk. We get Let Go My Ego. He says, let's effing go. Chiefs Kingdom 3-peat coming, baby. Listen, as a Chiefs fan, right there's Chiefs Kingdom fly high. I got the new flag coming from my daddy out in Kansas City. He went to the old Mickey D's and got me one the other day. I got the new one coming. There's a 3 feet spot right here. Right here. Next to good old, the GOAT of all time, Peyton Manning, there's a 3-peat flag going right there. Right there. Woke football station. No, not here. Not here. Not here, not ever. But it is what it is. Sometimes people got to do what they got to do, right? But today, guys, on this week, July 29th, the last week of July, good Lord, guys, football starts Thursday, August 1st. Are you guys ready for that? Let's go. But we have made our trek around the NFL. There's only 3 divisions left for us to cover. We got the AFC North, we got the NFC West, and the NFC South. But today, we got to talk about arguably the toughest division in football. Today, we are going to talk about arguably the best team in that division, and that is the one and only Baltimore Ravens. The Baltimore Ravens, guys, have been on this roller coaster of a ride for the last couple years, ever since drafting Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson has pretty much catapulted them to the moon and having grand old things. Lamar Jackson got his dollar bills, yo. Last season, of course, he was at the highest paid quarterback at that particular time, but now Tua got paid, Jordan Love got paid. There's been a lot of other people that got paid. Pretty soon, Dak Prescott's going to get paid. But before we move on to the NFL season of the Baltimore Ravens, we have to talk about what has been going on with the man, the myth, the legend, Lamar Jackson. We have to talk about how Lamar Jackson has had camp struggles the last few days, the last few weeks. Actually, camp started for them late or early last week. I want to preface this by saying that Lamar Jackson was sick. I don't want to get any twisted. I don't want you guys to get any thoughts in your mind. Lamar Jackson was sick. And being sick last week myself, playing under the weather, coaching under the weather, like you are very, very foggy. But Saturday was full pads for the Baltimore Ravens. Saturday, the Baltimore Ravens were out there and was in full pads. Lamar Jackson had an hour practice on Wednesday before he called it quits. They did not practice Thursday. Friday was an off day. Saturday, bada bing, bada boom, they're back at camp and they're back at it. Lamar Jackson, guys, looked very, very bad this particular practice. He looked very, very bad this particular practice. He overthrew Justice Hill a couple times, did hit Justice Hill in the hands one time on an out route. It was a low pass, should have been caught, dropped it. Overthrew Zay Flowers a couple times, underthrew Rashad Bateman, threw behind him. Lamar Jackson just looked like a below average quarterback the last few days at camp. And I jumped on some Baltimore Ravens boards trying to look for some reasoning, some thought processes of why Lamar Jackson was playing the way he's playing. Obviously, he is sick, should be getting better by now. Saturday, he should have been, let's say, 80%. Look, guys, Lamar Jackson looked terrible. And understand he was sick. I get it. I understand that. But at the same time, at some point you have to step up and be a man, right? You have to step up and battle through that sickness. You have to some point, or not even show it to practice. Just get IVs, get what you need, and get better. But, guys, the Baltimore Ravens flows through Lamar Jackson. The whole Baltimore Ravens offense flows through Lamar Jackson. That offense, when Lamar Jackson was not in there with the starters, looked like dog poo-poo. Looked like a little dog poo-poo. So I got to ask the question. Lamar Jackson does have history of getting injured, missing a couple games, right? I'm not saying he's injury prone by like Joe Burrow is. Joe Burrow seems to get hurt every year, but Lamar Jackson did play all of last season. I think he played all the year before that. No, he didn't play all the year, but last year was his first full season, and I think his whole career, if I'm not mistaken. Guys, correct me if I'm wrong. But if Lamar Jackson were to miss any part of this time, the Ravens are going to struggle. The Ravens are going to struggle. And Ant's like, we talking about practice? We're not talking about games, but we talking about practice? We are talking about practice, Ant. And I do understand that this is practice. I do understand this is the 6th day of training camp for the Baltimore Ravens. I do understand they 6 weeks before they play the Kansas City Chiefs. But at what point do Baltimore Ravens fans start panicking? At what point does the media start to panic? At what point do you people that put Lamar Jackson up on this pedestal that he is God's greatest gift, do you guys start to panic? It is 6 weeks, but if this sickness lingers on into next week, he's still not 100% come the following week. Week 3, week 4 of training camp, right? Preseason games start. Things start moving quicker, right? Not boom, 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 but boom, boom, right? You got games to prepare for. You got injuries to heal heal up. At what point do you start to panic and be like, oh shit, Lamar, we need you 100%. This being sick excuse is got to go. This being rusty excuse is got to go. Let me know, guys. At what point do you start to panic? It's got to be soon, right? It's got to be soon. Got to be soon. Nash Production says, what's your prediction for the Hall of Fame game? My predictions are it's going to be very, very boring. We will talk about the Hall of Fame game in a little bit. We will talk about it a little bit. John's in the chat. He says Ravens are going to struggle anyways. And you see, John, that's where I think you're wrong. That is where I think you're wrong, because I do think the Baltimore Ravens have one of the best defenses in the NFL. They for sure have a top 2 defense in the AFC North, and everybody in the AFC North has a damn good defense. It's probably the Steelers and then the Ravens as far as defensive goes. The Ravens could probably get carried by their defense for 12, 13 games. With that being said, John says Ravens won't make the playoffs if Lamar goes down. And Ant says, now that's something I can agree with. And I'm going to take it one step further. If Lamar Jackson is not 100% come week 1, right? Still has that rust on him. Still could be, the endurance isn't up because he hasn't had the 2 weeks of practice that everybody else has had, right? Endurance is a real thing. There's a reason why all these high school kids cramp on Friday nights the first week of the season. College kids do the same thing. It's all about endurance. It's all about getting your body right. And if Lamar Jackson's body isn't right, it's going to take him a little bit while or longer to get ready. And when we look at the Ravens schedule, the first 6 weeks, it's tough, baby. It's tough. You play the Kansas City Chiefs. You play the or the Las Vegas Raiders. You play the Dallas Cowboys, the Buffalo Bills, the Cincinnati Bengals, a sneaky good Commanders team, a Buccaneers team, and a Browns team. That's tough, baby. Slow it down. John says they lost some key players on defense. You are correct. You are correct, but they also added a couple of pieces in Simpson. I do like their linebacker by the name of Simpson. He has stepped up and kind of filled that Patrick Queen role per se. Now, when we talk about defense, when we talk about the Baltimore Ravens defense, their defense so far this training camp has looked locked down. So far in training camp, that Baltimore's defense has looked by far the best defense in the NFL. The secondary, hands down right now, has been looking the best in training camp. But that's versus a third-string quarterback. But that is without shoulder pads. But that is with really a offense that could really tear you up. I do like the Baltimore Ravens offense with Lamar Jackson in there and Derrick Henry and Zay Flowers. But you take Lamar Jackson out, that offense looks shitty. The Baltimore Ravens defense is going to be a really, really good defense. The Baltimore Ravens defense is going to be easily a top 5 or top 10, if not top 5 defense. The biggest question mark for the Baltimore Ravens defense this season is Kyle Hamilton going to step up, and I believe he was injured late last season. No, that was Humphreys, right? Can they come back from their injuries? Can they really come back and be the players that they were before their injuries? That is the biggest question on the Baltimore Ravens side of the ball, right? Also, their pass rusher, is it Owu, right? He tore his ACL. He has been practicing full tilt in practice, no restrictions. But when game time comes, is he going to be the man, the myth, the legend? The biggest question on the Baltimore Ravens defense right now is Brandon Stephens. Brandon Stephens, he got picked on a little bit last year. So far in training camp, the film that I saw, he's been getting picked on a little bit. Now he's putting his hand on the ball. He's not backing down from the fight. He is a dog when the ball is in the air, but he's going to get beat a lot. But he's going to make some boneheaded mistakes. But he's going to be a little bit of this and a little bit of that. I do like the Baltimore Ravens defense. They did lose some key players. John is right. We will talk about that. Coach Billy's in the chat says, Fat Trick Mahomes the frog. Patrick Mahomes the frog is going to whoop the Ravens' ass week 1. We will talk about it. We will talk about that very, very soon. Very, very soon coming up. Ant says, if it was an injury to the body, then I'd be concerned. But if he's just sick, then he'll be okay. I believe that our offense will struggle a little bit through the first 3 or 4 games. He's talking about Lamar Jackson. So when Ant is talking about Lamar Jackson, he's like, I'm not worried about that. He's sick. But Ant, let me take it one step further. I'm sure you played football in high school or junior high, maybe some college, right? When you are sick and you try to practice like Lamar Jackson is doing, and he only practiced for an hour on Wednesday. On Saturday, he practiced for a little bit longer, looked like dog poo-poo. But that just sets your body back even further. When you are sick, all this is for all guys. When I'm sick, I am dying, right? I can have allergies, and I'm going to be in bed like, honey, I'm dying. Oh, right? We are the biggest babies out there. Let's just be flat and honest. When men are sick, we are the biggest babies out there. But we won't go to the doctor. We won't take any ibuprofen. We won't take an allergy pill. We won't drink water. We won't eat. We'll just sit there on on the couch, covered up, watching TV, complaining all day. Lamar Jackson's probably the same way. He's a man. He's probably on his couch right now, complaining to his baby mama, I'm sick, I'm sick, I'm sick. Not drinking fluids, not eating food, not taking care of his body, getting ready for the NFL season. With that being said, when you don't take care of your body, getting ready for the NFL season, drinking those fluids, doing proper workouts, this could lead into some type of injury. This could lead into a strained hamstring, right? You're trying to go 100% when your body says, you know what? We're not 100%. Ouch, right? Ow, my hammy. Oh, shit, my quad, right? Throwing too many balls. Oh, man, my shoulder's a little shorter. Those lingering injuries could linger on to some major injuries. That is the biggest concern that I have with Lamar Jackson right now. Not that he's sick. We all get sick. We're all babies about it. Whatever, right? But that sickness can lead into dehydration. It could lead into a cramp. That could lead you to try to push through the cramp because you leads you lack of eating. Now that cramp becomes a strained hammy. Now that strained hammy becomes a back pain, right? It's a domino effect. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm not wishing any will on him whatsoever. Don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted. I'm not wishing any will on him at all. But it could happen. It could happen. We also got Eddie Jackson. Forgot about Eddie Jackson. Forgot about that dog, Eddie Jackson. He is going to be a good free safety. He'll probably, honestly, the secondary of the Baltimore Ravens guys, bar none, superior, right? We talked about the Colts last week, how their starters are up here and their secondary is like way down here. The Baltimore Ravens are starters, secondary, third string, all boom, 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 right? Their third stringers could be starters on any other team. They have a lot of depth in the secondary, and as Ravens fans, you guys are going to need it. Everybody needs depth. I'm not saying just you guys in general, but teams in general need depth in the secondary because when somebody goes down, you can't have that big drop-off. Because when you have that big drop-off, teams like the Buffalo Bills, teams like the Kansas City Chiefs, hell, teams like the Houston Texans are going to expose that weakness. Eddie Jackson is a phenomenal player. The whole secondary is phenomenal. And who is the Baltimore secondary coach? I have no idea. I have no idea who the secondary coach is. But he's doing something right. They're getting all the right players and all the right pieces in the right spots. They doing something right. Let's just be flat out honest. Cerebral gas, wherever the F that is. Sounds like a lot of KC fans, wimps. Listen, John. Every man out there, speaking for every man out there, when we're sick, we're dying. Okay? When we're sick, we dying. We dying. But speaking of linemen, John says that tackle they have is pretty good if he gets jumped up and pass block and feedable. The Baltimore Ravens offensive linemen will have 3 new starters this season. 3 new starters for the Baltimore Ravens offensive line. Now, if you are a pigskin pundit, we talked about this on Sunday. When I was prepping for this show, we were going through the list of the offensive of line starters. I had no idea that they lost 3, right? I'm like, oh, shit. This might affect some of my picks moving forward. I mean, I already had the picks, but, the finalized pick coming up in 2 weeks here might change that a little bit. We're looking at the offensive lineman, Roger Rosengartner. Roger Rosengartner. He was a second-round draft pick from the University of Washington. Played with Michael Penix Jr. on that playoff run team. And at first glance, this guy was a really, really good player. We were watching his highlight tape, guys, if you were a pigskin pundit. We were watching his highlight tape. We were watching it. First couple minutes, man, he was a beast. Great drop step, moving the defensive end out. But then Once we got later in highlight tape, I want to emphasize highlight tape. Number 9 from Michigan State. I believe it was Jalen somebody, sophomore. He's going to be a beast. Going to have to look up his name again in a couple years when he's in the league. He is. This Rosengardner guy started to get a little sloppy. This number 9 for Michigan State guy tried to do a little hip flip on him, right? Wasn't successful, but got the lineman up on one foot, and he was hanging on for dear life. But people like T.J. Watt, Myles Garrett, Hendrickson, they might make chopped liver of this guy. So, guys, one of the biggest concerns if I'm a Baltimore Ravens fan going into the 2024 NFL season is your offensive line. Obviously, you still got Stanley there. Stanley is a staple of your offensive line. If he's healthy, he is by far one of the best guys out there, right? Linderbaum, pretty good. But the rest of the guys out there, watch out. If the Baltimore Ravens offensive line can come together and look like a damn good offensive line that they could potentially be. Look out. James Frank is in the chat. He says Cleveland's secondary is better. So on the surface, Cleveland's secondary might look better. Their starters versus Baltimore Raven starters could be a 1A, 1B. I will give you that. Let's say Cleveland is a 1A and Baltimore Ravens are second. But then you add the depth factor in, James. If who was the safety for the Browns that they picked up from the Kansas City Chiefs? Was it Ward? I believe it was Ward. Let me correct myself. I've been looking at a lot of names lately. I want to get the name correct. I don't want you guys to get twisted. Thornhill. I'm sorry. Thornhill and Ward. I guess Ward is on there, but Ward wasn't from the Chiefs. But once you go past Warren and Thornhill and anybody else on the starter, the backups in Cleveland are not superior than the Baltimore Ravens secondary or second stringers. Look at third stringers. Ravens by far better than the Cleveland Browns third stringers. So starters could be neck and neck, right? Where the Baltimore Ravens surpass everybody in the secondary class is the second stringers and the third stringers because there's no fall off. Secondary is just as good as the starters. Third stringers are just as good as the second stringers, which is just as good as the starters. ED is what it is. Juan Thornhill. Thank you for that. Thank you. I choose Juan. Okay. You can choose Juan. You can choose Newsome the second. But after that, who do you got, baby? Who do you got? I do know who they got week 1, though. Week one, the Kansas City Chiefs and the Baltimore Ravens do some battle. Reigning 2-time Super Bowl champions, Kansas City Chiefs at home taking on the Baltimore Ravens in this week 1 matchup. Guys, this is a very anticipated week 1 matchup. Not because of it's the reigning Super Bowl champions. Not because it's Lamar Jackson reigning MVP. It is not because of the first game of the season. It is because of the fact of how last year's AFC Championship game ended last season. Last season, the Baltimore Ravens defense was injured going into Kansas City. Or going into the AFC Championship game. They're at home, but they're playing Kansas City. Humphreys did not play the previous week, was trying to go this in the AFC Championship game versus the Kansas City Chiefs, and he just wasn't cutting it, right? Wasn't cutting it. Back and forth, right? Back and forth. Running back goes down again, whatever, right? Baltimore Ravens want this rematch. The Baltimore Ravens don't really want this rematch. They want to show this rematch that last year was a fluke. They want to come out and be like, you know what? We are the best team in the AFC. We are them. We are going to do this. We're going to do that. Look out for us. But it's all about me, right? And the Kansas City Chiefs are going to whoop that ass week number 1. This is not me speaking as a Chiefs fan. This is me talking like I've been watching camp. I've been watching film. I watch a lot of games. The Baltimore Ravens early in the season going to be rough. First 6-7 weeks of the season, guys, it would not shock me one bit if the Baltimore Ravens do go 500. It would not shock me one bit if they are just a very struggling ish team, right? The Kansas City Chiefs get the week 1 win over the Baltimore Ravens, and the Baltimore Ravens open their eyes a little bit. Open their eyes a little bit and be like, hey, you know what? Maybe we are not as good as we thought we were. Maybe, just maybe, we need to go back to the drawing board. Maybe, just maybe, we need to take this 10 days off, get our minds right, throw that week 1 game out. Okay, we lost, whatever. It's time to get back to work. John thinks the Ravens are going to spank the Chiefs. James Frank says, not a battle. Kansas City Chiefs spank them. John People says, not week 1. Detroit beat them in Arrowhead. They start slow. See, John? Raiders fans and Lions fans, which you are both of, you live off 2 weeks from last season. Week number 1 and Christmas Day, week 15. Congratulations. Chiefs win week 1 over the Ravens. Week number 2, Ravens are back at home. Back at home, fresh off licking their wounds, realizing that, hey, we are not the cream of the crop quite yet. We're pretty good. We are pretty good, but we're not the cream of the crop quite yet, baby. Las Vegas Raiders come into town, and the Baltimore Ravens wax that ass. Wax that ass. Raiders are going to be a lot of cocky and a lot of arrogant most of the season. Their fans already are. Their players already are putting puppets on their hand and talking or whatever. Yes, AP stopped that or whatever, but regardless. Baltimore Ravens win week 2. Not even close. Not even close. Baltimore Ravens are looking pretty good right now. Looking pretty good. Looking on top of things, and John thinks the same. Week number 3. Going to Dallas to take on the Dallas Cowboys. This is one thing positive about the Baltimore Ravens, guys. This is the one thing good about the Baltimore Ravens. When they play top NFC teams, the Cowboys, the Eagles, the Lions, the 49ers, they step up. They step up and they beat the crap out of the NFC teams, the top NFC teams. Now, they can't do that for a lot of the AFC teams, but the NFC, if the Baltimore Ravens were in the NFC, they would be in the Super Bowl year after year after year. And this year, I think, continues that trend. Dallas Cowboys will be a top team in the NFC. The Dallas Cowboys will win the NFC East. The Dallas Cowboys will win a playoff game or 2, but they will not win week 3 game. The Baltimore Ravens come into AT&T Stadium and they beat the Dallas Cowboys. I don't think it's going to be an epic beatdown like they did versus the Las Vegas Raiders, but I do think the Ravens beat the Dallas Cowboys. I don't know what is in the air, what is in the juice, but Baltimore Ravens beat top NFC teams week after week, year after year. I don't know what it is. It is what it is. John thinks they lose to Dallas. John thinks they beat Dallas. And of course, Ant has an undefeated record. So he has them 3-0, going 4-0, going into the Buffalo Bills game. The Buffalo Bills game, week 4 matchup, back at home. We talked about the Buffalo Bills, guys. We have talked about the Buffalo Bills. They could be really superior or below average. All telltale short to how good their wide receiver core is. Nice and young, very unproven. But they still got Josh Allen. But they still have James Cook. But they still have a pretty good defense. None of that matters. None of that matters. Right now, the Baltimore Ravens look like a well-oiled machine. Lamar Jackson sitting nice and pretty in the pocket. The offensive line is stepping up, looking like an all-pro offensive line. The defense is shutting down teams week after week after week now. 2 weeks in a row. Going on third week. Derrick Henry is getting his bread. Justice Hill is getting his bread. I think the Baltimore Ravens play the Buffalo Bills tough and they come out on top. 21-7. This gives them the third win in a row. The Baltimore Ravens are looking good. Looking good, looking cocky, looking arrogant. Raider hate is in the air always, baby. John says it's a W versus the Bills. I agree. And Ant dropping some stats here says Lamar Jackson is 19-1 against the NFC. So basically that means if the Baltimore Ravens can make it to the Super Bowl, they're going to win. Going to win. John thinks Bills play Baltimore. It's a coin toss. It's a coin toss. 3-1 at this point. I concur with that, John. 3-1. The only loss coming in a opening week, Kansas City Chiefs. And that week opening one loss is kind of just a fluke at this point, right? Baltimore Ravens are flying high. Wins over the Raiders, Cowboys, and Buffalo Bills in consecutive weeks. Then comes week number 5. Then comes the first divisional opponent of the season. A particular tough opponent. As I do not think that the Cleveland Browns will not be living up to a lot of hype this season. They do, however, step up in this game. They do play well in this game versus the Baltimore Ravens week number 5. Joe Burrow is a primetime player. Joe Burrow has come into camp with a shaved head and blonde hair. Bleach blonde hair. Side note, the last time he came into camp with bleach blonde hair, he threw 65 touchdowns the following season. Granted, that was at LSU. Granted, that was in college. Granted, that was 16 injuries ago. But I do think the Cincinnati Bengals as a whole get better of the Baltimore Ravens week 5. I think the Baltimore Ravens have kind of been winning. Well, they've obviously been winning 3 games in a row, but the winning has kind of covered up the the cracks that they have. Yes, the offensive line has been playing good, but this part of the line hasn't been playing good, right? Yes, the running game has been doing well, but that's a lot because of Derrick Henry, right? I think this week 5 game exposes a lot of the weakness for the Baltimore Ravens, and I think it is a good thing moving forward, but just not week 5. I think they lose to Cincinnati, and John concurs with me on that. I think they lose to Cincinnati. Give us a week 6 matchup. Week 6 matchup, they're back at home versus a Commanders team that is going to be shocking a lot of people this season. I think the Commanders are a team that you really don't want to play, especially if they get hot. If they get hot, the Washington Commanders could be pretty good. How we just spoke about the Cincinnati Bengals come week 5, they have a lot of cracks. They have a lot of exposures, right? The Commanders try to exploit that. The Commanders try to, attack that still gelling offensive line. The Commanders try to pick on the linebacking core because they can't stop or run. They try, but they just don't have enough firepower. It's too much Lamar Jackson and Zay Flowers come week 6, and they win that game over the Commanders. WB Ant says we will sweep the Bengals again. We will tie with Shitberg and Cleveland. John thinks it is a tough win over the Commanders. Give us a week 7 matchup. Week 7. Right now, the Baltimore Ravens are kind of like, we can be really good. We can be really good if we fix these few little mistakes that we have. We have a little bit of tinkering here, a little bit of tinkering there, and you're good for now. You're good for now over there, but these two things we need to really tinker. Now, as Ant said, Lamar Jackson is 19-1 versus NFC teams, right? Already have them beating the Cowboys, so 20-1 versus NFC teams. I think Baker Mayfield gets his second loss. Sorry, I think Lamar Jackson gets his second loss to an NFC team by losing to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think Baker Mayfield is a top 10 quarterback in the league this season. I think Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to do some work in the NFC South. I think Baker Mayfield and Tampa Bay Buccaneers is a team that you do not want to play in the playoffs. Hell, you don't want to play them, period. They expose more of the Baltimore Ravens' weaknesses that the Ravens have been trying to fix the last couple weeks, but they finally get exposed. It is a close game, but it is too much Baker Mayfield, too much Mike Evans in this game. The Baltimore Ravens get their third loss of the season. Third loss of the season. John thinks, I think you split with Cincinnati, Cleveland, and sweep Pittsburgh. John thinks there's another loss to an NFC team. John, I think you and me are on the same wavelength today, buddy. And James Frank says Baker Mayfield woke up feeling dangerous. 6 balls out of 4 TDs. Baker Mayfield's going to do some work versus a very good Baltimore Ravens defense. But this is the time of season that the Baltimore Ravens, their tough schedule starts to get a little easier, right? Their tough schedule starts to tone down a little bit. I'm not saying that the Browns are an easy team. I'm not saying the Browns are a cakewalk, but I'm saying that the Baltimore Ravens match really good versus the Cleveland Browns. Best on best across the board, the Baltimore Ravens are better at every aspect in the game. Quarterback, Lamar Jackson. Receiving core, give me Baltimore Ravens. Secondary, give me Baltimore Ravens. Linebacking core, give me Baltimore Ravens. Defensive line, give me Baltimore Ravens. Running back, give me Baltimore Ravens. You guys get the hint. The Baltimore Ravens are better in every aspect of the game versus the Cleveland Browns. I think the Baltimore Ravens go into Cleveland and they beat the Cleveland Browns handily. They have fixed all the little flaws that they've had. The offensive line is now tuned up. Zay Flowers is getting his head right. Derrick Henry's running the ball downhill. And the Baltimore Ravens click and they win this game. Give us the Week 9 matchup. Denver Broncos come to town. Are the Denver Broncos any very good? We've talked about the AFC West, and the Denver Broncos are a bad team. They are a team that just meh. Ravens put a 70-piece on them. It's not even close. Lamar Jackson looks like MVP back form. Zay Flowers looks like a beast. Derrick Henry looks like a old Derrick Henry running over everybody, stiff arming. Get off me, boy. Baltimore Ravens defense is locked down. We'll probably see Bo Nix in this game. It's an ugly, ugly win. Baltimore Ravens beat down the Denver Broncos handily, giving us a Week 10 matchup. John thinks the same, by the way. Week 10 matchup. Cincinnati Bengals. Just played the Bengals, 5 weeks ago? Lost to the Bengals. Ravens are pissed off. Not only are they pissed off, they are playing some really, really good football right now. 2 wins in a row over the Browns and the Broncos. Baltimore Ravens win this game. Baltimore Ravens win this game because at this particular point, the wheels start to fall off the wagon for the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals are a good team. They're not a great team. Baltimore Ravens, they're a great team. Baltimore Ravens are better at football than the Cincinnati Bengals all season long. And John agrees. Week number 11. Week 11. Old Pittsburgh comes to town. Old Pittsburgh Steelers. now, we don't really know what they're going to do with their hands. Pittsburgh Steelers right now, guys, are in pretty much, we don't know what to do. They don't know if they're going to start Russell Wilson, injured. Don't know if we're starting to start Justin Fields, looking pretty good at camp. But really, it doesn't matter. Because Patrick Queen is going to come out and ball this game. Najee Harris is going to come out and ball this game. George Pickens is going to come out and ball this game. The whole defense is going to shut down the Baltimore Ravens. The Pittsburgh Steelers dominate the Baltimore Ravens week 11. Fresh off of a 3-game winning streak, wins over the Browns, Broncos, and Bengals. They come into Pittsburgh after another mini bye week, and they shit the bed. They just shit the bed. Not because the Steelers are better than them. They just shit the bed. Don't know what it is. They just shit the bed. James Frank thinks they slaughter Pittsburgh. Not only win, but they slaughter them. John thinks it's a win over Pittsburgh. But WBN says they lose to Pittsburgh. We'll see. Week number 12. Monday Night Football. Let's travel to LA to SoFi Stadium to take on Justin Herbert and the LA Chargers. Fresh off of an embarrassing loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers, let's get on primetime TV. Let's do it all over again. Lamar Jackson, guys, plays well on the West Coast, i.e. San Francisco 49ers, right? Lamar Jackson likes to play on prime time. Lamar Jackson likes the spotlight when it's on him. This Week 12 game, primetime TV, Monday Night Football, the LA Chargers get their asses whooped. Harbaugh versus Harbaugh, it doesn't matter. The Ravens beat down the LA Chargers. The Chargers are a 7-win team. Chargers are not very good. They could be good in a couple years, but right now they're not very good. Baltimore Ravens win this game, but James thinks, no, slow it down, baby. They're losing to the Chargers. Jim will get the better of John on Monday Night Football. Okay, James. Okay. Week 13. It's time to really get back on track. It is time to really get back on track and start to stream some wins together. Philadelphia Eagles, probably below average team this season. They get the dub. Baltimore Ravens come back home. Philadelphia Eagles come in and just kind of just like, meh. We here, but we're tired. We all heard the retirement plans for the defensive lineman for the Eagles last week. Week 13, he tired. And WBN says King Henry rushes for 120 yards. Keaton Mitchell will return and rush for another 75. Walking all over the Philadelphia Eagles. John thinks it's a win over Philly as well. Run as well. I think it's a win. Given 2 wins in a row going into the bye week. Much needed bye week at this particular time, right? There's a few bangs up, Derrick Henry probably rushing the ball a lot. Lamar Jackson throwing the ball a lot. They just need to heal. Nice little rest week. Nothing too concerning going into the bye week. They are A-okay. Sitting at 4 losses so far on the season, riding high on a 3-game winning streak. Come off the bye week to play the New York Giants at New York, New Jersey. They beat Daniel Jones. Not even close. The Baltimore Ravens going to New York, New Jersey, MetLife Stadium. It doesn't matter. They whooped that ass. Brian Burns, Thibodeau, whoever you want. It doesn't matter. You're not stopping Lamar Jackson after a bye week. Not after a bye week. You are not stopping Lamar Jackson. But then Saturday night primetime game. This is going to probably be an 8 o'clock game on Saturday night. Pittsburgh Steelers coming to town, fresh off a victory over the Baltimore Ravens just, 2 months ago at this particular point. But the Ravens are like, you know what, baby? You know what? Slow it down. You can ride your bus over those shitty-ass Pennsylvania roads. You can come into Baltimore. You can do whatever you want, but you know what? You are not going to beat us on Saturday night primetime because my man, Lamar Jackson, is going to do a dog, and he's going to ball out in this game. The Baltimore Ravens get their 4th win in a row over the Pittsburgh Steelers, and it is not even pretty. It is a knockout, drag-out game in the first half. It is ugly. And John thinks they win. Of course they win. Of course they win. But then we got this Wednesday night game. Why is that Wednesday night game popping up? Wednesday night game. Right now, guys, the Baltimore Ravens are on a 4-game winning streak. With wins over the Chargers, Eagles, Giants, and Steelers. Hell, if you look back at, they have won 8 of their last 9. Flying high. Flying high. Pretty much have a playoff spot locked up at this particular point, but they play this Wednesday game. Short work week, on the road, versus a Houston Texans team that really wants to win. They need to win. Right? At this point in the season, the Houston Texans are battling for an AFC South Division crown. I think the Houston Texans upset the Baltimore Ravens at home, and the Baltimore Ravens get their 5th loss of the season. Give us a Week 18 matchup when the Cleveland Browns and Amari Cooper, highest paid receiver in the NFL, comes down and plays the Baltimore Ravens. The Cleveland Browns are a team that probably going to be battling for a playoff position right here as well. 5 through 11 or 12 in the AFC, guys, are going to be really, really tight. 1 win here, 1 win there could decide a lot of things. But at this particular point right now, the Baltimore Ravens are playing for that number 1 overall seed in the AFC. At this particular point, the Baltimore Ravens want that bye week going into playoffs starting the next week. I think the Baltimore Ravens they beat Cleveland. It's a close game, 28-27, 28-25, type of score. 1-score game. And the Baltimore Ravens beat the Cleveland Browns Week 18, ultimately giving them a 12-5 record on the season. I think the Baltimore Ravens have a very, very tough schedule. They play a lot of primetime games. They play, 1, 2, 3, 4, looks like 6 or 7 primetime games. They're on TV a lot. Lamar Jackson shines out when he's on TV, does a lot of good things, but I think ultimately they're a 12-5 team. They are battling for the top overall seed in the AFC. Ultimately, I think they get second. Because the Kansas City Chiefs will also finish at 12-5, but the tiebreaker will go to the Kansas City Chiefs. But this is what I got. James says, I think Cleveland and Baltimore Ravens are going to battle for that top spot. Cleveland is a good team on paper. If you look at paper, the Cleveland Browns are a really, really good team. If Deshaun Watson can be 80% of himself that he was in 2009 and 19, the Cleveland Browns have a defense that could win them a championship. They have a receiving core that could win them a championship. I saw somebody said, I think it was Ant that said that they would take the Browns receiver core over the Ravens receiver core. Probably not, but I believe the Browns did sign Jerry Jeudy, right? So potentially, but we'll be talking about the Cleveland Browns tomorrow, obviously. And I'm not for sure if the Browns have enough mojo, grit, the it factor to be the dogs. James thinks, I think the Ravens sweep Pittsburgh. I have them splitting. The Pittsburgh Steelers they're a team that if you do not play your A game against, they are going to beat you. The Pittsburgh Steelers, I feel, are going to be a team that they're going to come out every week and give you a B game, right? They are not going to play out of their minds and score 100 points, but they're not going to be not scoring either, right? They're going to be a nice, every game you are going to get the Pittsburgh Steelers B game, right? They are just going to come out there. They're going to do what they do and don't make mistakes. And if you make those mistakes, slip up, throw a interception, get sacked for a 15-yard loss, fumble the ball, that's how the Pittsburgh Steelers can win you a lot of games. But to sweep them, sweeping in the division is very, very tough, as is. And to be honest, if I'm a Baltimore Ravens fan, I don't want to sweep teams like the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't want to sweep teams like the Cleveland Browns. I don't want to sweep teams like the other teams in my division, because I think the Steelers and Browns are both going to make the playoffs as well. You're going to have to play them, and it is tough to beat a team 3 times in a season. Now, I'm not saying go out there and purposely lose, but if you lose, you're like, you know what? It is what it is. It is what it is. Win against Pittsburgh, loss against... James says, I think the Cleveland and Baltimore Ravens are going to battle for the top spot. Dude, haven't we talked about that? Haven't we? John has the Ravens at 12-5 as well. They get the first spot, first overall seed. Whoa, slow it down, baby. Slow it down. Ant has them going 13-4. 13-4 with losses to Pittsburgh, Texans, Browns, and Eagles. I could see the Pittsburgh loss. I can see the Texans loss. Obviously, can see the Browns loss as well, because I actually had the Ravens sweeping the Browns this season, but the Eagles, Ant? I mean, I understand it's a Sunday night game, actually, week before the bye week, kind of ready to get to the bye week. I could see it, but damn. Ant says, our receiver core is nothing to bloat about. Outside of Flowers, everyone else is big. Bateman's pretty good. Rashad Bateman's pretty good. I do like Rashad Bateman. Actually, I like him a lot. But you were forgetting, you guys have a nice 2 tight end system now, right? Mark Andrews, broke his leg last season, right? Was out most of the season. Boom, insert Isaiah Likely. Bada bing, bada boom. Where did this guy come from? You guys quickly got a 1-2 punch at tight end, right? Still have Nelson Aguilar. I think Rashad Bateman's a solid number 2 guy. Zay Flowers, if he can keep his head, could be a top receiver in the NFL. But really, you don't really need a great receiver core when you have 2 damn good tight ends and a running back room that is deeper than a freaking college back running room, right? Derrick Henry, Justice Hill, Keaton Mitchell. You guys need about 3 balls to go around. John thinks Flowers is going to go nuts this year, but you're right. Cleveland has a better receiver core. Man, y'all loving you some Browns, aren't you? You guys are all loving you some Browns, but when we look at the Browns receiver core, yes, they have Amari Cooper and Jerry Jeudy, but Elijah Moore, the Jets didn't want him because he didn't know the playbook. He refused to know the playbook. Is he really going to come out and be the dog? David Njoku, really good tight end, top 5 tight end, hands down. I don't know. I like the Baltimore Ravens core adding tight ends better than the Browns. Bateman is okay, says Ant, but the dude got to stop dropping the ball and get on point either way. Lamar, but yeah, Likely and Andrews are those dudes. Get on point with Lamar. We'll see. First preseason game is Thursday, guys. We do have the Chicago Bears talking about the Houston Texans. Somebody asked what I thought about that game. What am I looking for? Basically looking forward to if any starters come out and play. Right? Obviously, we're not going to see Caleb Williams. We're not going to see CJ Stroud. We're not going to see Stephon Diggs or DJ Moore. we're going to see these potential back-end potential starters play like a few games, like maybe a series or two. I'm talking like second string guys that could potentially jump into the starting spot. That is what I'm going to see. I want to see the depth of these teams. I want to see depth of the Houston Texans and depth of the Chicago Bears. I don't care about second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter. Those are all going to be cut players, unfortunately. Anybody playing in the third and fourth quarter on Thursday, you will probably not see them on an NFL roster this season. Practice squad, get better maybe the next couple seasons. Maybe somebody stands out, but you will not be seeing those guys on a roster whatsoever. First quarter, first three series is probably key. That's what we're looking for, and looking forward to see if Caleb Williams handles himself on the sideline. Is he going to be rah-rahing his team, or is he going to be, I'm better than everybody else? Caleb Williams' mental game, I think, is the biggest factor for the Chicago Bears moving forward. But James Frank says Elijah Moore will be who Watson looks for when he's in trouble. Just will be sorry they let him go. Haven't been sorry yet. But guys, that is it for today. I know I was kind of all over the place. I kind of had pre-show technical difficulties. I was kind of behind a little bit. Rest of the week will be fine, guys. We do have some interviews lined up with some Pittsburgh Steelers guys, and as well as Cincinnati Bengals podcasts as well. But until then, guys, we'll see you next time. I'm out.